Well, this is a follow-up on the 5 muscadines I grew last year from using a bottle and putting it over a stem of the grapevine I wanted to get a clone off of, so to speak. I wanted to get a viable grapevine, and then it sprouted. Then I severed it from the original parent plant, and I planted them in these containers, and they grew at the river, and I brought them home. I put them in the lower shelf in my greenhouse all winter. There's no light or anything under there. And then as they didn't freeze all winter because we keep it heated, we just keep it so that it won't go into freezing. Grapevines will not freeze in the ground, but in a pot like this left outside, it would kill it because the moisture in the soil would be a block of ice and it would just kill it. Where in protected soil, a whole garden or a grapevine arbor setup, the soil would never freeze solid down where the roots are. And now I've got to do something with these because, as you can see, I could almost reach my first wire with this, which has been pretty decent growing. And I have stakes, these bamboo shoots. You can buy them at a big box store. I know Home Depot sells them, and I saved them. And we use some nylon ties that I always use to tie everything up. I have a pair of scissors because this one nylon tie would stretch to maybe 3 feet. And I just need to take this and put it on here just to stabilize it in the wind. Now this is in direct sunlight and they have not been in direct sunlight. I'm going to do this. I'm just putting them in the sunlight so you can see it. If I left these in bright sunlight all day long, these leaves, which haven't been acclimated to weather conditions, they've been in a protected environment and not exposed to sun, it would burn them up. It'd be like hardening them off. Now you could keep them inside in here where they could get indirect light, and after about a week or so, or 10 days, you could stick them in a little more light after a week or more. And then eventually you can put them in full light and they'll grow. But we're going to plant these in a garden at the river, so I'll be back to you after I tie them up. Now here's one I've tied up to the stake. I always put the tie at the top, bring the first one up, tie it to it, and then I could put that one under it right now, but I don't have to. And if I had a second one, see, I can tie it there. We'll go over here. It's a little darker, but see, I tied this one to the top, and the nice thing about using these nylon hose is they're elastic, so it won't choke off the stem. And this is going to be the trunk of your grapevine, and there's one, and I only have one stem, so I have to protect this one. Now see, this I have the original, and this one came off the original. And that one is more dominant than that one is because it's just as tall, but it has a larger diameter. And you could just cut this off right there and tie this one to it. But by the time I take these to the river, suppose I broke that. So I'd rather leave them together, and then I can get them down there and plant them in the ground, because you could shear one of these off when you plant it in the ground. And when you get it in the ground, then you can snip the others off and let that one grow. And some people will leave a second one growing until that one makes it to the second wire. You're taking away a little bit of growth out of this by the energy in this one, but if something happens to that, a storm comes up, hailstorm, whatever, and it shears this thing off, you don't have much left. So if you want to leave, I'll take these down there with all 3 there, and I'll remove one after it's planted, so I'll still have 2. And once I know that the other one's going to make it to the upper wire, I'll cut the other one off. And see, that one has a 2 stem, and that has a 2 stem. The other thing you want to look at is these tendrils from last year. Now they will slide up and down this, and it could knock that bud off, because that bud is really tender. And you can unwind it. It's a little tough to do, but you don't want any of these to get in your way. And see, that's probably not going to live. You can see the color of that is like a speckled brown, and it's a little bit there, but then it's none there, and pretty much that's dead. But these old tendrils aren't going to do you any good. And you really see how that one slid down just with me fooling it, so I'm going to get that one off of it. Same thing with that one. And you have to watch it so you don't do anything, cut off the wrong thing. Here's something else you have to pay attention to, whether it's on a new plant that you've grown or whether it's one like over there. If that tendril is left on there as this tries to grow, that can strangle it and deform it and kill it. And since this is one you'd hope to get to the upper wire, you don't need to kill it. And see, this one is dead on the end, so when I cut this back, a bud will come out of here and form a new one to get to the wire. Well, there are those three done. I will take that one near the edge of the seat off of it and move it somewhere else because the wind might knock that over. And here are the other two. I turned them away from each other so they couldn't hit into each other. And I still have to clean this one up, of these two up with the tendrils. All of these have been done. And when they do wrap around really tight on these things, you need to take your time and patience because they get really stiff, and you can get them off if you take your time. And here's the difference between the grapes that have been left outside, all winter, and the grapes that have been left in the greenhouse. See, they're way behind. And these haven't even started to swell. We're going to have to cut the canes back on this to be able to produce grapes this year. And you could do it now. It's always late winter, early spring. But the problem is you don't know which ones of these are dead. Some of them might have died from the winter. So it's always better to wait until they start to come out. See, they might have winter damage. See, that's winter damaged. So if you wait until they come out, then you know what you got to be able to cut the rest off.